Hi, welcome back to part 2 of 7-7 Multiply Polynomials. Why, this is tougher than Chuck Norris.
Presented by mycrazyvideos.com.
Chuck, I don't know where people came across this. It is the Chuck Norris facts. It's been floating around the internet for several months now, and this is some kid who just came up with all this wild stuff about how tough you are and everything. I'm going to give people a little example of what is on there. For example, facts like Chuck Norris once challenged Lance Armstrong in a Who Has More Testicles contest. Chuck Kahunas, baby! Chuck Norris won by 5. This is the sort of stuff, you know, we've selected 10 for you. So we want, yeah, it's all true. So we want you to read them off for us, Chuck. Here we go.
These are 10 of them right here. And number 10 is when Chuck Norris does push-ups, he doesn't push himself up. He pushes the earth down. There are no steroids in baseball. Only players Chuck Norris has breathed on. I don't know. Believe me, some of these ought to be screenplay writers here. Rather than being birthed like a normal child, Chuck Norris instead decided to push his way out. Punch his way out. Punch his way out. Chuck Norris once shot down a German fighter plane with his finger by yelling, "Bang." Chuck Norris doesn't churn butter. He roundhouse kicks the cows, and the butter comes straight out. Yeah, because I have a ranch. That's how I get my butter. When Chuck Norris sends in his taxes, he sends blank forms and includes only a picture of himself, crouched and ready to attack. Chuck Norris has never had to pay taxes ever. Is that true? That's not true. That is not true. That's total fraud. In fine print on the last page of the Guinness Book of World Records, it notes that all world records are held by Chuck Norris, and those listed in the book are simply the closest anyone else has ever gotten.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, this is one of my favorites here. When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is currently suing NBC, claiming Law and Order are trademark names for his left and right legs. Chuck Norris's tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries, ever.
Oh, man.
Now I guess here's my favorite one, though.
Are you going to be saying
Here's my favorite one.
Yeah.
They wanted to put Chuck Norris's face on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't hard enough for his beard.
Yeah! Guys, let's hear it for Chuck Norris!
Alright, so now for the next thing. Take 3xy squared times 2yx, parenthesis 3x plus 5. Now, touching means multiply, and you would think that I would times these first, but remember that this means times as well. So you have this, times this, and believe it or not, order does matter here. Even though this is a polynomial, excuse me, not, well, polynomial, yes, but inside this parentheses, excuse me, even though there's stuff inside of parentheses, there's nothing I can add or subtract, so really there's nothing I can do here. So we times these two guys first. So 3 times 2 is 6, and you have an x and another x makes x squared. 2 y's and 1 y make y third, like this. Then you times by the whole thing. So 6 times 3 times 5, x squared times x squared times 5. And y cubed times 3x squared times 5. Basically, I'm just going to take this times all of this, and this times all of this. Like follows. 3 times 3 is 18. 6 times 3 is 18. X squared and x squared make x to the fourth, and y to the third comes along. And 6 times 5 is 30, and x squared and y cubed come along as well, like this. And this is actually your completed answer. A little more complicated. Okay, you try. Let's see how you did. Well, First I'm going to times these guys together first, because remember it's this times all this. So these two combined to avoid this. And then both of these guys are being times by 30, a to the 6th, b to the 1st, times, and you get this giant formula. All this guy becomes negative 90 a to the 7th b, and all this guy becomes 150 a to the 6th b squared, and that's as far as they can go because the terms aren't the same. Now you might say, wait a minute, there's a's over here and b's over there, how come I can't combine? Because they're not exactly the same. If they were both a to the 7b, great. Or if they were both a to the 6th, b to the 2nd, great. And back. Now the new term, FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. Here's how FOIL works. Take your x here. X is going to be times this x, and x is going to be times this 4. And this 2 will be times this x, and 2 will be times this 4. So x times 4, 2 times x, and 2 times 4. Well, again, first, outside, inside, last. Now we just times them up. By the way, this would become x squared plus 4x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 is 8, and we just combine 4 and 2 to make 8x. So it become x squared plus 8x plus 8. And that would be your answer. Let's try another. Go ahead and try this here. Same thing. X times 6, 5 times x, and 5 times 6. We have x times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times 6 is 30. I combine these two in the middle because they both have an x for a variable. So I make 11x. This is my finished product. You try, and you see the answer here. Here, how do we do it again? X times x, x squared. X times 9 is 9x. 8 times x is 8x. So if you remember, you have 9x plus 8x. You're going to get 17x, which is why it's down here. And 9 times 2 is 72. Now, it works the same with x times x is x squared. X times negative 6 is negative 6x. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And negative 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. X squared, negative 6x, negative 5x, and 30. Combine the negative 6 and negative 5 to make negative 11, and there you have it. You try, go ahead. How'd you do? X times x is x squared. Negative 4x, negative 2x, positive 8, because negative 2 times negative 4, and you get x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now positive and negative. Same idea though. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see. X times x, x squared, 4x, negative 2x, negative 8. Combine these two to make 2x. Voila. X squared plus 2x minus 8. Now, when you have this, because it's square, we're going to times both. X plus 3, x plus 3. And then x times 3, 3 times x, 3 times 3. They combine, because remember you have 3x and 3x to make 6x. You try. This merged into this. Go ahead and see what you get. Alright, x squared minus 12x plus 36. Quick break.
Tiempo. Good.
And back. 3x times negative 2x is going to be negative 6x squared. 3x times 5 is going to be 15x. 3 times negative 2 is going to be negative 6x, and 3 times 5 is 15. Notice how 15x minus 6x is 9x. Everything else is there already. These are the only two that combine. You try, go ahead. Let's see, negative 6 times negative 5 makes positive 30x squared. Negative 6x times 2 is negative 12x. 7 times negative 5x is negative 35x. And 7 times 2 is 14. Drops it down. Boom. Why negative 47? Because negative 12 and negative 35 combined. Now we're going to try this. So it's bigger, so what? It's the same procedure. Negative 6x squared is going to be times this, this, and this. And 7 is going to be times this, this, and this. We put all 6 terms in there in this polynomial. Combine the like ones. Now, not a lot of them are alike. There is no other x to the fifth. So that goes right there. There are 2x to the thirds, so I merge those. There's only 1x squared, only 1x, and there's only one non-x. So the only merge is right here. Just how it goes. You try. Let's see what the answer was. I hope you got that. Take a look real quick. If you times them all. Good night, buddy. Have a good night, sir. Time for a break. Word problem style. Finally, the word problem. Oh. Open up your book to page 496, example 5. Let's take a look real quick. Here we are. We can resume the question. A dulcimer is a musical instrument that is sometimes shaped like a trapezoid, so I guess this is it right here. What they want to know is they basically want to say, well, a trapezoid, if you remember, is half the height. If you add both, let me try again. If you add both bases, whatever they are, and divide by 2, which is times it by a half, that gives you your average length. Then just times by the height. That's how it works. So if you take a look here, all we're saying is, okay, well, I don't know what this base is. I don't know what this base is, but if I add them both together and divide by 2, I will get the average. And once I have the average, then I'll just times it by the height. So for a trapezoid, you add both bases, divide by 2, or times by a half. It's the same thing. Notice how here it says times by a half. Divide by 2 works the same. So I'll take these two pieces, h plus 1 and 2h minus 1, and combine them to whatever I get. Looks like I get 3h plus 1 minus 1, so they cancel, leaving just 3h. And then I divide by 2, so really it's 1.5h. So the average base is 1.5h, which the book has as 3/2, but that's fine, whichever. Then I'm going to go ahead and times by the height. Now, so I have 1.5h times h, which looks like this, and that makes 1.5h squared. You may feel free, of course, to review this on page 496 to help you. Now, once I get 1.5h squared, then they say the height is 22. Well, all I have to do is go ahead and plug h in for 22. 22 in for h, excuse me. 22 squared is 484, and then 22 times 1.5. Excuse me, 22 squared is 484 times 1.5 is 786. So that's what they're saying the area involved is. And there you have it. Well, rough to be sure. My suggestion is this. Write out each problem. Work out each piece. Take your time. This is not the time to try to do it all in your heads. Write it out, show your work, follow it up, be careful, and it won't be any harder than anything else we've done. Thanks again. Bye.
Dong. Dong.